We caught a burglar, and what we did to him made even the cops start laughing. I was flipping burgers at my summer barbecue when Mrs. Kowalski's cat literally threw itself through her closed kitchen window. Not near the window, through the window. Glass exploded everywhere, and this orange tabby landed in her flower bed screeching like it had seen the devil himself. 20 of us just froze mid-conversation and stared, because cats don't just kamikaze through windows for no reason. Then we heard a man inside Mrs. Kowalski's house scream, "What the hell?" followed by the loudest crash I've ever heard that wasn't a car accident. Mrs. Kowalski, who was standing right next to me holding a plate of potato salad, dropped the entire thing on the ground and whispered, "I live alone." That's when my roommate Gavin, who was already 6 beers deep and shirtless for some reason, grabbed the metal barbecue spatula, held it up like a sword, and yelled, "Who wants to be a hero?" before sprinting full speed toward her back door. 4 other drunk guys immediately chased after him screaming various battle cries, and I just stood there thinking this was either the dumbest or greatest thing I'd ever witnessed. But here's where it gets weird. As Gavin reached Mrs. Kowalski's back door, it flew open from the inside, and a guy in all black came running out carrying a pillowcase full of stuff. He was wearing a ski mask in the middle of July, and didn't see Gavin until the last possible second. They collided at full speed, and the burglar's pillowcase exploded on impact, sending jewelry and electronics flying through the air in slow motion. A laptop hit the fence, rings scattered across the grass, and Gavin, who'd somehow held onto his spatula during the collision, just laid there on top of the burglar yelling, "I've captured him! I've actually captured him!" The burglar tried to scramble away, but Derek tackled him from the side with a pool noodle, which shouldn't have worked but absolutely did because the burglar slipped on Mrs. Kowalski's wet grass and went down hard. My cousin Felix, who'd grabbed a bag of charcoal for reasons nobody understood, just dumped the entire thing on the guy's head. The burglar was now covered in black dust, coughing and blind, and that's when Julian appeared out of nowhere, holding a massive watermelon above his head like the boulder from Indiana Jones. Time actually seemed to slow down as Julian wound up his throw. Everyone watching started yelling different things. "Don't do it! Do it! That's evidence! Throw it!" The burglar looked up through his charcoal-covered ski mask just in time to see 20 pounds of watermelon flying directly at his face. The impact sounded like a cartoon sound effect. The watermelon exploded, the burglar went down, and Julian just stood there with his arms raised in victory yelling, "Watermelon justice!" The burglar wasn't knocked out, just absolutely covered in fruit chunks and charcoal dust, laying on his back, making sounds like a broken accordion. Gavin stood over him with the spatula pointed at his chest and said, completely seriously, "You've been grilled, criminal." Mrs. Kowalski walked over, looked down at this disaster of a human being on her lawn, and started laughing so hard she had to sit down on the grass. She was crying, laughing, couldn't breathe, just pointing at him and wheezing. The burglar tried to say something, but his mouth was full of watermelon, so it came out as, legal, Someone yelled that we should call the police, and I pulled out my phone. But before I could even unlock it, my girlfriend Natasha came running out of my house holding the biggest roll of plastic wrap I'd ever seen, the industrial kind we'd bought for covering food at the party. She had this absolutely manic look in her eyes and yelled, "Secure the suspect," like she was in a cop show. Before anyone could process what was happening, she started wrapping the burglar's legs together while he was still lying there covered in charcoal and fruit. She wrapped around and around and around, and the burglar was too shocked and winded to even fight back. He just kept saying, "Wait, what? What is this? What's happening?" in this confused, defeated voice. Derek immediately understood the assignment and started wrapping the guy's arms to his torso. Then Felix found another roll of plastic wrap in my kitchen, and they just kept going. Within 3 minutes, this burglar looked like a human burrito, just his head sticking out, completely immobilized, covered in black dust and watermelon chunks, lying on Mrs. Kowalski's lawn while 20 drunk people stood around watching like this was normal. But then it got weirder because Gavin suggested we take him to the front yard to wait for police, and 6 guys just picked him up like a log and carried him. The burglar was screaming the whole way, yelling about his rights and lawyers and illegal detention, but Gavin just kept spatula tapping his head saying, "Shh, you're under citizen's arrest. Very legal, very cool." They propped him up against my fence like a decoration, and that's when things got out of control. Full story is linked below or on my channel.